So, hi Maria. How are you?
Well, a bit nervous because I've never done this before.
I
I never
understand.
talked about my condition, like especially with someone who is professional or
Mhm.
studies something like that. So this is the first time, but I'm okay and I'm excited a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So we're here today to talk to you about your hyperhidrosis, but I thought we'd start off by just if you would like to tell us just a little bit about yourself. Who is Maria? Just the background.
Okay, sure. So my name is Maria and I'm from Croatia. Now I'm 25 years old. I have a job. I actually recently finished my college and I work in laboratory as a molecular biologist.
Cool.
And I'm here because I have hyperhidrosis my whole life. Actually, I also have sweaty hands, like right now. They're a bit sweaty. So I recently started working, and hyperhidrosis also makes some difficulties in my job. Although I do work in gloves because it's in laboratory, and I hope that this interview will maybe help some people emotionally or with some actual tips that I do with this condition.
Great, great. I'm really glad to have you here today to talk to you about this. So I thought we could start like in the childhood, or when did this problem start for you? What are your first memories?
Yeah, my first memory about me having sweaty hands was actually when I started to go to school. Like before, I didn't notice so much because when I started to go to school, I needed to suddenly write on paper, and I was more around other kids, and we were doing some games which involved like maybe holding hands or modeling something that kids do. And then as soon as school started, I noticed that I just get everything wet. And it was difficult for me, for example, to write because the paper would get wet and everything was just, I don't know, kind of unhygienic, I would also say. And I always was really like impressed why is my hands like all the time wet, and the other kids had like normal hands.
No, yeah.
And then my parents also noticed that, but they always were saying, and everyone was always saying that it was maybe I was nervous, I was afraid, or something, anything actually related to stress. But I actually didn't feel that much at stress. My hands were just wet, and it was just happening.
Yeah.
And also, my sister sometimes had this problem. I mean, she also has sweaty hands, but I would say that my condition is worse.
Yeah.
Her condition is more like, I mean, she also has sweaty hands always, often, but it more comes like in intervals, but mine are like all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And I was complaining about that a lot, but for time, I didn't know anyone else who had this problem, and I always thought it was something to do with my mind, with how nervous I was, or that I get too excited, or that something is wrong with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of started like that in the
Yeah.
school.
Did you get comments from other kids or from teachers or anyone else around you regarding this?
Well, not so much, but sometimes yes. It was more like it was not so much as mean comments, but more like surprise, and it was looking weird, and they were asking why are my hands so wet. And then I would like wash it or dry it, and they would be wet again, and it would never just ever stop. And I don't know, sometimes that would be maybe funny to some people, but I didn't experience maybe that much bully because of that. And I guess it was part of the reason was because I kind of became really good at hiding that.
Yeah.
So whenever I could, I would not show my hands so that people could see they were wet, or I would always, I don't know, dry it in my pants like this all the time. I would do And whenever I had a moment that my hands were, for example, dry, that was very rare, but sometimes it happened, then I would do as much as things as I could to just get over it while my hands were dry, and then they will become, because I knew they will become sweaty again.
Thinking about what kind of things were you avoiding, except for maybe dating some or holding hands?
Yeah, well, for example, I would avoid activities which would involve me, for example, writing something on paper that other people were watching, or even that I was like the main person on the computer, because then you have the keyboard, and I was always worried, yeah, I don't want to touch the mouse or the keyboard, so what if they get wet and people see drops, for example, and then I have to kind of remove it or something like that.
Did you ever think what will happen if they know that my hands are sweaty? Did you think about that, or did you just focus on hiding it?
Well, for example, I knew that some people already know that I have sweaty hands, so maybe I was kind of monitoring their behavior to see will they notice it, or are they looking for it. And from other people, I would just try to hide or make it look like it is more occasional thing. I'm just like nervous in the moment, so it's like that, or I just washed my hands and I didn't dry it completely.
When was the first time you heard about hyperhidrosis and realized, oh, this might be me as well?
Well, when I was in high school, there was also one boy who didn't have hyperhidrosis from the childhood, but developed later. And also, so that was one more person that maybe made me thought, okay, maybe I'm not the only one. And I also start so much Googling and exploring about something like that. And in Croatia, I didn't find so many people. I read some forums and so on, but I didn't for a long time found something that could actually help me, or that really defined that condition is connected with autonomic nervous system, and that is really called hyperhidrosis.